Hey everyone, Rose here. Remember how last week during my spoiler talk of The Rise of Skywalker, I said I wasn't gonna do this video for another 2 weeks? Well, it turns out that I have no chill when it comes to The Mandalorian, so here we are, and I do what I want. Alright, this is gonna be a spoiler talk of episode 5 through 8 of The Mandalorian and a general season 1 wrap up. And yeah, I'm not going to dissect every episode scene by scene in minute detail. I'm just going to touch on a few key things that stuck out to me about each episode, and then after that I will talk about season 1 as a whole. Yeah, so episode 5. I do love it when a story continues to build up a character and round out a character. We got to see just how intelligent and generally resourceful Din, aka Mando, is. Side note. I'm choking on my hair. This is going great. It's a little odd to call Mando Din now, so because of that, it's weird. This is just me. I feel like until Mando in the story is, I don't know, continuously saying, hey, call me Din, for the rest of this video, I'm gonna call him Mando. Cool. Anywho's, what I was trying to get at was that we get to see Mando's intelligence. We get to see him use sign language so he can communicate and negotiate with two Tusken Raiders. And it definitely makes sense that anyone in Mando's unique line of work would pick up some languages here and there to get their job done. And in episode 3, we did see Mando speak kind of, poor Jawa, but he was trying. And another reason why I really liked the negotiation scene is, for me, it's solidifying that Mando does his best to get his job done without resorting to violence first. He's not perfect at this, we all know that, but it's something that he's doing his best. Yes. And moving right along, this episode, good grief, this episode, as well as episode 6, they really highlight just how hard of a time Mando is having getting jobs and just paying his bills, essentially. Particularly in episode 6. So speaking of, episode 6 is probably one of my favorite episodes. The director of this episode, and I'm not going to say his name correctly, so I do apologize, but Rick Famuyiwa? Him. He did a great job. He did such a wonderful job of creating suspense throughout the whole episode. And something that this show and the writers continue to do so well in writing Mando is that he's a very real person that can get hurt. And Mando, he does get hurt and beat down a lot. Like in every single episode. Sure, we know that Mando's not going to die. This is his show after all. But his character is being handled in such a way that we, the audience, truly feel like the actions of not only Mando, but other characters, they have consequences. Often enough, it can feel like protagonists in TV shows and movies, they have plot armor to such a degree that even when something objectively bad happens to them, you may not feel the weight of that because the character hasn't been written in a realistically vulnerable way that we, the audience, can connect with. And Mando, in episode 6, he was just really tested, I think, in his capabilities. We got to see, I would say, just how resourceful he is in whatever scenario and environment that he's thrown into. If I may be so bold to say that the scene when the lights are flashing on and off and like some sort of horror movie monster, Mando is silently making his way towards his target, yeah, that was sexy. Now, Baby Yoda in this episode, awesome, A+ work, you're doing great, sweetie, all the time. Now, episode 7. Sneaky Yoda is sneaky. Papa isn't watching, so he sees his opportunity to mess with this very important stick that makes the ship fly. Babies they're gonna do what babies do, and that sometimes fucks things up a little bit. But Papa Mando, bless him, he's never mad at whatever shenanigans that Baby Yoda gets into, even when he pulls it like that. Mando, he's honestly so patient with Baby Yoda. My heart. Now, the Force choke scene. Okay, I've been reading a lot of theories and general discussions about this scene, and I think a great reading of this scene is, now at this point, Baby Yoda has spent enough time with Mando that he is clearly starting to react to people and situations based off of what he's seen Mando do. He's learning from his papa, really. However, Baby Yoda he's too young at this point to understand the nuance of when someone is playing around the way that Cara and Mando were in this scene, and when someone or something is a genuine threat. Thus, Baby Yoda reacted the way he did and was clearly confused when Mando was frantically saying, no, Cara is a friend. So, bottom line is, Mando needs to be more aware of what kind of example he's setting for Baby Yoda, and I do think that Mando is realizing this. As well, for this episode, Quill. What a gem of a character. I love that he has such a gentle way of commanding the respect that he deserves, and I'm definitely really sad and bummed that we won't get to see more of him. Rest in peace, Quill. Now, episode 8. Aha! What a finale! Just well done across the board. Something that my husband pointed out, and this was one of my favorite parts and elements, is that Mando, IG-11, Cara, and Karga, and Baby Yoda, they worked as a team. Not one of them could have overcome the situation that they were in without the other. No one was the ultimate hero. And I just really love that, as well as my husband. The very beginning, when the scout troopers hit Baby Yoda, I think the Star Wars fandom as a whole just collectively were like, now you gotta die. Nobody messes with Baby Yoda. It's just the law.
This is the way.
Now, the big reveal of Mando having his helmet removed. So my husband, he is leaning towards wishing that it didn't happen, and I am in the camp of I was fine that it happened because of how it was done. Sure, I do think it would have been cool to either never have Mando remove his helmet throughout the entire series, or I think just waited a bit longer, perhaps sometime in season 2, have that big reveal. But again, one, IG-11, he's technically not a living thing, so there was nothing in the creed or the code that was broken. And 2, I liked that IG-11, he did his best to keep Mando at ease during the situation. Yeah, that makes sense. I think within the story, it made sense for that scene to play out the way that it did. Lastly, the introduction of the Darksaber. If you don't know anything about the Darksaber, I will link in the description box a great video from the channel called Star Wars Theory that will explain the history of the Darksaber. And I'm very curious. I'm very curious to find out how Moff Gideon got a hold of the Darksaber, because the Darksaber belongs to the Mandalorians. All right, so my overall thoughts of season 1. For me and my husband, The Mandalorian is such a bright spot. For me specifically, this show it's really sparked a renewed and kind of new joy for Star Wars as a whole. I'm not saying this because I was personally disappointed in The Rise of Skywalker. Even before I saw that movie, I had not felt this big of a connection with anything Star Wars related, I think, ever. Now, don't get me wrong, I've always enjoyed Star Wars for many years, but I hadn't felt this strong of a connection and a thrill about Star Wars until The Mandalorian came out. So, okay, the first season, it has had a few bumps and kinks within it, but there has been nothing that to truly dampen my enjoyment of this show. My very positive view on this show. I love that this show, it's so much more scaled down, particularly compared to the trilogy movies. It's like we are right beside Mando, working through his ups and downs, his struggles and his accomplishments, and watching him clearly grow and open up as a person. Yeah, speaking of that, I've really enjoyed watching Mando learn to open up to people and forming friendships. Now this part, it ties back in specifically to episode 8, but whatever. I am living for the fact that it's official, this is the way. Mando is Baby Yoda's space dad now. No take backsies, okay? Y'all, I was beside myself when Baby Yoda just toddled his way over to Daddy Mando and hugged his leg. That's good stuff. Okay. Need to move on. Okay. Can you tell that I'm a fan of Baby Yoda? Anywho's, so season 2. Things that I think are going to happen. I think that we are going to learn more about the Jedi. I have confidence, however, that the Jedi will not become the thing, you know? While the Jedi, they will clearly play a role because, hi, we've got this powerful Force user with Baby Yoda, I do think that the focus will and should remain on Mando and his story, as well as his relationship with Baby Yoda. I just think keep the focus on Mando growing as a person and the continual trials and tribulations? Trials and errors? Yeah, trials and errors of raising Baby Yoda. We don't need big spectacles with this. I think we are all very much enjoying how small and relatively contained this show and overall story is. And with season 2, I've seen some theories, just a couple, that perhaps they could bring in Luke, but I honestly, I hope that they don't. Don't get me wrong, I like Luke, okay, but this is Mando's story. It's called The Mandalorian, after all. And I just want, let Mando and new characters shine. Let's continue to let other characters in this big galaxy have their story told. Yeah, okay. I mean, I said it in my previous Mandalorian review of episodes 1 through 4. I really love this show because it's showing us how the rest of the 99% of the galaxy are doing outside of the Jedi and the Skywalker stories. If you are just really aching for more Jedi stuff, don't worry. There's going to be an Obi-Wan show, so there's that. I really want to keep the Mandalorian generally separate from the Jedi and the Skywalkers and Palpatine. Anyway, I also wanted to shout out the stunt actors, Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder, who also played a big part in bringing the character of Din Djarin, aka Mando, to life. I think stunt actors and actresses, they are slowly starting to get more recognition in what they do for actors and movies, but they could still definitely use some more push. Now, this may be, I don't know if this is odd to say in a spoiler review, but this show is such a big recommendation from me. From me. Got it. I love this personal and focused storytelling. This show proves that a good and cohesive Star Wars story can be told. I think a big theme of this show is friendship. We start the show with a very isolated and frankly lonely guy. And as the story progresses, we see Mando slowly opening up, realizing and understanding how to connect with people. And by doing so, he makes, I think, especially at this point, significant connections with other people who have also been quite isolated in their own way. So yeah, I really love watching these friendships and found families develop. All right. I feel like I'm on a roll, but I've got to end this video at some point. So let me know what your thoughts are on The Mandalorian. What have been some of your favorite who have been some of your favorite characters, and what have been some of your favorite moments and favorite scenes, all that good stuff. In the comments below, let's continue to talk about this for a while, because the second season comes out in the fall of this year. Wow. And that part I'm totally cool with. Take your time on developing this. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. If you want me to see me talk more about Star Wars things, somewhere on screen you should see my spoiler reviews. I can do words for The Rise of Skywalker and The Mandalorian episodes 1 through 4. And that is it. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you are having a wonderful week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.